Hello everyone, my name is Laura. This is my channel, Laura's Little Library, and welcome to today's video, which is hopefully part 3 in the anticipated reads of this year video series. I say that this is hopefully part 3 because this next chunk is going to cover August, September, and very little October, November. So I found so many books coming out in the next couple of months, but not so much towards the end of the year. And I mean, August and September is a bigger time for books to come out in general within a year, so it does make sense. But I am hoping that I will still have one more video for this year featuring more kind of that November, December, and maybe even early into 2026 to get excited for the books coming out at the end of the year and beginning of next year. So this video does overlap a little bit with the previous video, like I said, because there was like 1 or 2 books that I knew of coming out in like August and September, and even one in October that I mentioned, but I just want to go over that since there are so many more books that have been announced and will be coming out. So without further ado, let's get started. First thing I want to note, this book has been mentioned in every single anticipated reads video, but that's because I kept getting so confused on what was going on with it. So A Baby Dragon Cafe did come out July 1st. You can get it from Barnes & Noble. That's how I know it is out. I thought it was going to be out January 1st, but then I don't know if it got pushed or if it was going to be self-published but then picked up by a publishing company for July 1st. But Baby Dragon Cafe is finally out, and I cannot wait to read that one. So just putting a little note on that one. Now, for August. On August 5th, we have a book called The Deathless One, and this is by Emma Hamm. This is the first book in a series. I don't know how many books are going to be in the series, but there are going to be more. And this book follows a princess who was murdered at the altar by a prince, and that kind of like really screws over her kingdom. Like, she's super worried about it, so she ends up striking a deal with like the god of death to help secure her kingdom and her kingdom's future in exchange for he gets to then have her life, basically. Like, he gets to take over her life or something like that. So I'm very intrigued. I like the idea of this going into death kind of thing, and what a bummer to be murdered at the altar by somebody you probably didn't even want to marry in the first place. On August 14th, we have a book called Cat Dragon, and this is by Samantha Birch. This sounds so cute. It's going to be like one of those cozy fantasies, I believe. You have this witch who tries really hard. She truly does. And in her town, everybody bonds with a cat dragon, but she has tried 13 times and has not bonded with one yet. And then she does, and this is all in the synopsis, of course. Then she does finally bond with them just in the nick of time, because then they have to go off and like save the town or something. So it just sounds like it's going to be such a cute, cozy fantasy with cat dragons. Oh, it just looks so cute. On August 19th, we have a book called Hemlock and Silver, and this is by T. Kingfisher. This I'm really intrigued about because T. Kingfisher is another one of those authors that does these really cool, unique fantasy standalone stories that I admire so much. So this is like a Snow White retelling, but you are following this girl who is, I think she's the daughter of a healer. Snow White basically has been poisoned, but this healer has a little bit of poison every day so that she can figure out the cures for poisons, which if you're an anime fan, quick side note, it sounds a lot like our main character from Apothecary Diaries, Mao Mao. Love that show, love Mao Mao. So this book I'm very excited for because it sounds like it is going to be like a novel Snow White version of Apothecary Diaries. And so she has to go and help Snow White come back from her poisoning of a poison apple based on her expertise. I'm so excited. There are so many possibilities with this. I cannot wait for it. Oh, on the 25th of August, we have a book called The Dragon Wakes with Thunder, and this is the second book in a duology that is a kind of Mulan-inspired retelling that I read the first book, and I liked it way more than I thought I would, so I'm very excited for this sequel to come out. We have 2 books coming out on August 26th. One of them is Catabases by R.F. Kuang. I have talked about this book a little bit. So R.F. Kuang's new book follows a couple of grad students, one of whom's her professor kind of holds her life in the balance a little bit with like his recommendation for her future, and she ends up kind of getting him killed, which really does not look great. So she decides to go into hell to retrieve her professor to try and save her reputation. Super excited, very like magical dark academia again, so I cannot wait for this book. And then the other one on the 26th is The Good Vampire's Guide to Blood and Boyfriends, and this is by Jamie D'Amato. And this is, I think it's going to be such a really cute, queer, like, romance with fantasy elements, perfectly in time for getting ready for spooky season, because you are following this sophomore in college named Brennan who has recently been turned into a vampire. But there's this other really cute boy on campus and this cute boy accidentally sees him like being a vampire in some way. So he's trying to kind of figure out and deal with that. But at the same time, students are going missing, and there are these supposed animal attacks that are happening around campus. So trying to keep his secret safe while also falling in love with this boy just sounds so cute. Like, it sounds like just a cute little contemporary romance with fantastical elements, like a better or like a different version of Twilight, kind of. So I'm excited to read this one for spooky season. And then the last book I have to talk about in August is August 28th, The Wicked Lies of Habron Fair. And this is by Anna Fateni. So sorry if I'm terrible with these names. This is a new romantasy book, and it is a Welsh mythology inspired, or takes place in Wales, where you basically have these 2 sisters, one of whom is supposed to like marry well and has all these expectations, and the other sister needs to like help her do so. But the first sister like goes off into the dark woods where there's a bunch of fae and stuff, and so you follow the second sister who's like trying to go after her to save her, to put their lives back on track. And now we can move on to September. September 2nd, I believe, we have a book called If It Makes You Happy, and this is by Julie Olivia. This is like, it screams Stars Hollow. The cover is so autumnal, and I swear that looks like the gazebo from Stars Hollow's Town Square. But it is a small town romance. You have this guy who is like coming back and trying to start over after like a failed career or something like that. This girl who takes over a bed and breakfast, but she is not well equipped to do so, and she's coming off a divorce, and I believe he's like the town's golden boy, and they're neighbors. So I think it's just gonna be a really cute like mini Stars Hollow-esque autumnal cozy romance kind of thing. So we'll see. And then we have a couple of books coming out on September 9th. The first one I want to talk about is The Maiden and Her Monster, and this is by Maddie Martinez. Also, I am like looking down here when I say things because this is my list, so just know that. This is a retelling of the Jewish myth of a golem, and it is a sapphic romance, which we love over here. And it sounds a lot like Hannah Witton's first duology, which I loved. The For the Wolf duology by Hannah Witton, or it's the Wilderwood duology. The first one's called For the Wolf. I loved this book. So this book sounds a lot like it, where you have like the daughter of a healer, and she lives on the edge of these dark and mysterious wood full of bad creatures and whatnot, and then you have like this religious group coming along, and the daughter of one of the clergymen ends up going into the wood, and I don't know if she's killed or she just disappears. The people who live there are getting blamed for it, and so the daughter of the healer is like, okay, you know what, no, if I go and like kill this monster, bring this monster back, do you believe that we had nothing to do with it? So it sounds a lot like Hannah Witton's because it has like the heavy religious aspect within the societal norms and a dark and mysterious wood with monsters inside. But with it being a sapphic romance, I think that things are not going to be what they seem, in the same way that Hannah Winton's was. And like I said, I really loved it, so hopefully this will be just as good. So also on the 9th is a book called Play Nice, and this is by Rachel Harrison. And this is going to, I think, be a fun book as opposed to like dark and serious, because this book is about this woman who grew up in a demon-possessed house. And she always said it's demon-possessed, and her family's like, no. No, 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 no. But when her mother passes away, she is left the haunted house, and she decides to fix it up. So it is a home renovation for a haunted house. Which sounds like it's more on the fun, whimsical side of things, as opposed to like this dark, like, if you know the house is haunted, you would never go back kind of thing. So again, with this coming out in early September, it'll be perfect for the spooky season coming up, and I could not be more thrilled. I love haunted house books, and I'm excited for home renovation because I've gone through that and I know the struggle of that, so I am really excited for this book. On September 16th, there is a book called Hopelessly Devoted, and this is by Audrey Goldberg Ruoff. Hopelessly Devoted. Oh, I love it. It sounds like one of those like classic witchy romance books that are perfect to read around spooky season if you're not like a dark thriller horror kind of reader, but more of a cutesy romance, but you still like to get into the cozy autumnal or cozy spooky side of things. So this is about a woman who buys this guy's like his family's old tea house, and but he comes back and finds that she is trying to run it, and then, you know, the town is being threatened, and so the two of them have to team up with their magic through the tea shop to save the town and its magic and things like that. It reminds me of, like, there was one year, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before, where I read like 5 books that are just like these witchy people need to save the town, and it's like low stakes fantasy, mostly romance. It sounds like one of those, which if written well, I love, but very often aren't written quite the best. But I'm hopeful about this one because it's a tea house, and I'm excited for that. Then on the 23rd, we have a couple of books coming out on September 23rd. So the first one to talk about is Tourist Season, and this is by Brynn Weaver. I think this is going to be the first book in some sort of series or companion series, something like that. But Tourist Season is about this small town that gets a lot of tourism. I think it's kind of during the summer, and, you know, like town on the coast kind of thing. And you have one person who, if there's a bad tourist, like this really annoying, rude tourist, they take care of them, if you know what I mean. They make sure that tourist never walks out of that town alive, or walks out of that town ever again, right? So she loves her town, very passionate. Then our other main character is more the hitman type. He's given a target, he unalives the target. So they are coexisting in the same tourist town. And you would think they would be at odds with each other, except for the fact that this summer, there's like this podcasting crime solver. Somebody who loves true crime and loves to solve mysteries, but is not like an official detective or anything. They come to this town, and suddenly both murderers are threatened. And so they have to team up to save each other's butts and make sure that this true crime person does not get on their trail while still fulfilling their missions. Because I think one of them is supposed to kill the other. So I'm really excited. Again, it sounds like the perfect end of summer, beginning to spooky season. I wish it came out in August as opposed to September, just when it's still like summer mood, but still kind of thrillery. So, but what can you do? Also on the 23rd is What Fury Brings by Trisha Levenseller. I talked about this one in my last anticipated reads video, so if you want to know more about it, you can watch that video for more in-depth excitement about it. But it is kind of a reverse bride-napping fantasy situation of this queen or 2 princesses in this kingdom who, their kingdom does not have a lot of men, so they don't really have anybody to marry. So one of the sisters, to cement her claim to the throne, is going to kidnap a prince from a neighboring kingdom who is like super low-key. Nobody really cares about him. He doesn't do much. He's just kind of there. Her to be a pushover, and so she's gonna kidnap him because he'll make the perfect husband for her, except that I believe she ends up kidnapping the wrong prince. So very excited for that one to finally come out. Then on September 30th, again, we have a couple of books, one of which is, I think, Holly by Adeline Grace. For some reason I thought this was coming out in October, but I have it in my notes that it's actually coming out at the end of September. It is like book number 3.5 of the Belladonna trilogy, because I think it's just one of those like holiday novellas for just following the characters, following the original trilogy, just as kind of bonus content for those who love those characters so much, which I did. So I will be excited, and that I will probably save more till around the holidays, like the winter time. Also on the 30th, we have The Weaver Bride by Lydia Gregovic, and this is another romantasy book, yay, about a witch who, she is a silk witch, and she's got this unique power of being able to go through locked doors or open doors. But the thing is, in order to cement her magic, she has to marry a weaver, so that's somebody of like higher status, super important, and she really doesn't have a lot of status. So her options of actually getting married and keeping her magic are quite slim. That is until she opens the door into somebody's house that she probably shouldn't have, because I believe she gets caught, but is offered a deal by this guy. If she like does something for him, he will help her in this competition that will boost her status, that will allow her to hopefully marry a weaver to keep her magic. The cover looks really cute. I'm really excited, and I love a romantasy. It kind of reminds me a little bit of The Rose Bargain, but maybe not quite as spring-esque, so we shall see. Moving on to October, there is one book in October that I am really excited about at the moment that's coming out, and it's not until October 28th. And this book is called Moth Dark, and it is by Kika Hatzopoulou. And this is a romantasy. Lots of romantasy on this list. Gee, I wonder what I like to read. And it has like a multiple timeline kind of feel. You've got this female, you've got this main character who there's like this dark edge, and somebody comes out of the dark edge and it's kind of like this mysterious gender fluid elf prince kind of thing. And then the second time she sees him come out of the dark, he is like dead set on killing her. Like it is his mission to unalive her. And then the third time she sees him, he's like professing his undying love for her. And she's like, what is going on? So lots of like different timelines, and I don't really know how to expect this to go. I'm just intrigued. So there you go. And then I do have 3 books in November that I will be briefly mentioning and talking about here so far. But again, I'll probably cover a little bit more of November, December, and next year's January in the final edition of this 4-video series. So, but just to get started with some November things to look ahead after spooky season, on the 11th we have Brigands and Bread Knives, and this is Travis Baldry's new book. So this is technically the second book in the series, but there is book number 1, Legends and Lattes, and then book number 0.5, so it's like a prequel that came out. And so this new book is book number 2. And we are following Fern, who I believe is from the first book, and Fern gets super restless and decides that they are going to visit their friend who is from the first book, Legends and Lattes, but like really wants to go on adventure. So I'm not actually super clear on what the plot of this book is, because like reading the synopsis, I was like, okay, we're connecting these dots from these 2 books, but what does this character actually want? I think they want adventure. So what happens, I'm not actually sure, but if it's well written and a fun little cozy fantasy, then we should have no problem. Also on the 11th, you have a book called Snake Eater, and I believe this is also by T. Kingfisher, so there are 2 T. Kingfisher books coming out in the next couple of months of this year, which is like crazy to me, but cool, great. So this book is where the MC kind of goes back to visit her aunt only to find that her aunt is dead. And so she takes over her aunt's estate where there's this big garden. She's like, okay, yeah, I can start over here. But then some dark and creepy things start happening, and everybody in the town is like all too happy to let her take over her aunt's old place. And so we will find out why. And the bottom line of the synopsis was like, her aunt had a debt to pay, and now she has to repay the gods, or something like that. So sounds fun, sounds intriguing. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about in this video, it comes out on November 18th, and this is called Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore, and this is by Emily Kremfoltz. And this follows our main character, who was like the sidekick to this big villain, but now the big villain is dead, and so she's decided that she's going to go to a new town, she's going to start over, and she's going to be good. She's not going to be a villain anymore. She's going to be a good person, and she's a witch. And she runs into this alchemist who is also like, what does it mean to be a good person? How do we be good people? How do we do that? But a lot of it, this premise really reminded me of the Spell Shop quite a bit, because she is getting a start over, trying to just fit into this small town, but has a sentient, slightly homicidal houseplant as like her companion. So you can kind of see where I got the Spell Shop. You've got somebody who has like a past that they're hiding, trying to just kind of fit in, and has this sentient houseplant. So I'm really excited for it, especially because the Enchanted Greenhouse is coming out quite soon. It's mentioned in my previous video, and so I will be reading that. And then we have Violet Thistlethwaite to kind of carry on with those cozy fantasy vibes. So those are quite a few books that I am super interested in coming out in these next couple of months. I don't know how I'm going to read them all. Definitely not this year. I'm going to try to find the time to read all of these, but it's pretty unlikely I'll get to all of them this year. But if you have similar reading tastes to me, then there you go. Maybe you found a couple here that you will be able to read before the end of the year. Thank you all very much for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below if you are excited about any of these books, if there are ones that you are going to pick up, or if there are any that I missed that you're like, hello, this book is coming out and it's super cool, you should definitely put it on your radar. Please share it with everyone in the comments below. And if you like bookish content like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified. I'm going to try and post videos every week again, but I'm in this transitional period, which makes it a little bit difficult, but I am definitely still trying to read and make videos because I'm still having fun. But thank you, because with summer being always kind of the season that always takes the hit from, like, this is the transitional periods or I'm super busy. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'm super excited to make autumn videos, which is crazy to hear me say because it's July. Like, we're barely halfway through summer, but I've got some tricks up my sleeve. And if you like bookish content, not only subscribe to this channel, but I have bookish social media linked in the description below, like my Instagram and my Goodreads, where you can keep up with what I'm currently reading and what I think about it. So there you go. Again, thank you all very much for watching, and until I see you in the video, I wish you happy reading.